Hey, we're doing a third video because my youngest daughter keeps getting FaceTimed by her friends, which somehow gets linked up to my daughter's phone. I don't get it. On we go. Operant conditioning. Edward Thorndike, law of effect. Things that we like, we will continue to do. Things that we hate, we will probably not do. Go figure. Of course, B.F. Skinner, big forehead Skinner, Stanford Superman here. Created the Skinner box. Remember the pigeons pecking at things, learned when to peck, what light was on, or when this thing was on over here in order to get the food. All right? Basic ideas of operant conditioning include positive reinforcement. We all know what positive reinforcement is, okay? We are getting rewarded for something in a positive way. Negative reinforcement, please do not forget, negative reinforcement is the removal of a negative stimulus, right? That example I always give, you're in a supermarket checkout line. Nowadays with a mask and glove on, excuse me, kids crying, kids crying, kids crying, daddy, daddy, give me candy, daddy! Dad gives the kid candy. From the kid's aspect, I'm getting candy because I cried and whined at the store. That's called positive reinforcement. So that actually increases the chance of that behavior happening again in that scenario. Dad recognizes, I need to shut this kid up because he's embarrassing me. The negative stimulus in this case is the kid crying. So dad gives the kid candy, which also increases the fact that he will probably give the kid candy next time as well. When in reality, what should happen? I don't know, maybe a little bit of punishment. Just go outside, get the chocolate out. You know what to do, kids. Punishment is punishment. When we are operant conditioning something, we also have schedules of reinforcement. One of these could pop up. Keep in mind the schedules of reinforcement essentially allow us to instill behavior into people. People are addicted to gambling. People are addicted to slot machines. Why? The strongest way to create behavior is through the variable ratio schedule of reinforcement. In this case, variable ratio, meaning that the people know they're going to win some money, they just don't know how much. It could be their bet back, it could be the jackpot of $1,000, okay? So you have variable and you have fixed. You have ratio, which is amount, and you have interval, which is time, okay? So don't be scared if you see that. Last thought here is cognitive learning. We have insight learning, which is kind of learning through the aha moment. Latent learning is the idea of you've learned, but you can't really show that you've learned it until you're presented with a specific task. Like if you watched your dad change a tire, and you didn't show that you actually learned how to change a tire until you yourself got the flat. And then we have observational learning. Go figure. We learn by observing, watching our favorite peeps on YouTube, makeup tutorials, whatever the case might be. Memory. We've got encoding, storage, and retrieval. It's the big thing, right? Encoding, storage, retrieval. Oh my. We have to encode it. We have to process it. If we don't encode it, we have encoding failure, and that information does not get into our brain. We have to store it. We store it in short-term or long-term memory. And then, of course, we have to be able to retrieve that information, okay? Where do we store things? We store it in sensory information, okay? Essentially, you have all this information coming at you just every single moment of your life. You choose to what to remember, but about 99.9% of that sensory information is gone before you even knew it was there. What moves on goes into short-term or working memory, where you keep it for about 30 seconds. It's up there. Is it important? Is it not important? Are you using it? Does it disappear, or does it eventually make it into some form of long-term memory? There's different types of long-term memory. You might recall whether it's procedural memory, like remembering how to do something like ride a bike, or otherwise. We've got forgetting, Why do we forget? Well, we've got the decay theory, which suggests that ultimately, like everything else, probably our bodies, our teeth, they decay and fade away over time. Interference theory, something is getting in the way. You've got different types of interference. You've got retrieval issues. And ultimately, you've got our two different types of amnesia, retrograde, anterograde. Anterograde is 51st dates. You can't make any new memories. Retrograde, you lose the old stuff, retro stuff. Thinking, language, intelligence. I'm going to skip that to avoid these videos being ridiculously long. I think a lot of those concepts are pretty simple in thinking and language and intelligence. It was the last, I think, review assignment that you did. And I would rather focus on what we have over here, which is what I skipped during your review work. So this was the stuff from second semester that we did together. You didn't have review work on it, or did you for some of it? You might have some of it, but not all of it. Anyways, motivation. What motivates us, okay? Essentially, as we talked about, food is the number one motivation concept on the planet. We have instinct theory that basically suggests we're motivated by our instincts. Go figure. We've got other theories out there like drive reduction theory, okay? I have a drive. My drive in this case is I am thirsty, I am thirsty, I am thirsty. I need to reduce my thirst. And so my motivation is to find my water and to take a sip. Done. Okay, this afternoon, my motivation is I've got to find toilet paper, so I'm going to Costco. You know what I mean. What does that drive? What does that need? You need to deal with it. Let's see. Oh, Yerkes-Dodson law. Remember Yerkes-Dodson law? That pops up a lot on the FRQs. It's the idea that we do the best. We are motivated to perform, whether it be physically or academically, when we are under the right amount of stress. When you're overstressed, if you're going stressed into that AP test, it's probably going to impact you in a negative way. But if you just wake up and roll into the test and you say, I don't really care, that's going to impact you too. You want to get up, you want to eat a good breakfast, you want to have a little anxiety. It's that sweet spot for performance purposes. Yerkes-Dodson law. Cognitive dissonance, something else worth mentioning that pops up a lot. Cognitive dissonance is the idea that the way you think and your actions are conflicting. Okay? So, you got a bad habit, you're smoking, vaping, whatever it is, and you know it's bad for you. You basically have one of two choices. Change the behavior. Quit the smoking, quit the vaping, or convince yourself that it's really not that bad after all. Cognitive dissonance. Theories of emotions. One more thing about motivation. Don't forget about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We've got your physiological needs. I've got my shelter, my food, my water. Safety needs, then love, then esteem, and then the grand poobah of them all, self-actualization, which, according to Maslow, no one really does become. But we seek it. We seek to reach our potential. Self-actualization. Theories of emotions. You know what? I'm going to skip that as well. There's quite a few of them. If you get one for some reason, again, you can look it up and remind yourself of what that is. Human development. Thinking you're going to have something from human development in some way, shape, or form on this FRQ. We haven't done this since I think about February. So let's talk about some of the basic concepts. First, we have temperament. What does temperament mean? Well, we're talking about human development. Children can be easy children, which is self-explanatory. You have difficult children, which is self-explanatory. And you have slow to warm up children. We're talking about children, infant, toddlers, temperament. Are they easy? Are they good kids? Do they go with the flow? Are they difficult? They act negative to new people, new situations. or are they more the slow to warm up, which again, self-explanatory. We've got attachment. Do you remember Harry Harlow, the baby monkeys, and the scary wire cage fake mom? One had a nipple for food and nourishment. One was covered in a comfy cloth. And these experiments by Harlow essentially taught us that more often than not, kids, babies, baby monkeys in this case, want to feel warm and secure and attached. They'll get the food when they need it, but they're going to stick with contact comfort, as it's called. Parenting styles. Do you guys remember those? Where are they? Here they are. Authoritative. Do you remember authoritative? Not authoritarian. Authoritative is kind of like the parents who have rules, enforce the rules, but give their kids the opportunity to go out and some freedom. Authoritarian is you will do it my way. And then you have permissive, which is the parents who really aren't doing a whole lot of parenting to begin with, letting the kids do whatever they want to do. Erik Erikson talked about psychosocial stages of development, going through social situations that help us become who we are psychologically. First being trust versus mistrust. Are your parents taking care of your basic needs? Do you develop that bond with your primary caregivers? Do you develop trust? If you develop trust, theoretically you should be able to do that with other people. If you have mistrust, then you can have problems with relationships down the road. Autonomy versus shame and doubt essentially is building your own sense of self-worth and independence, allowing to dress yourself. Do mom and dad dress you all the time? Do they get your snack? You begin to doubt yourself. You feel shame, like, oh, I can't do this stuff. Or are you developing a sense of freedom and autonomy? Initiative versus guilt. You're building confidence. You're initiating plans. You're doing creative play. You are essentially wanting to do your own things. Mommy, I want to take up dance. Mommy, I want to play soccer. Okay? Are you being stifled? Are you getting that ability to initiate actions? Industry versus inferiority is going to be elementary school age. This is when we want to be successful. We want to do well in school. We want to please people. We want to become that star on the soccer or softball field, whatever the case might be. You're becoming industrious or productive. Piaget had his cognitive approach to development. I'm just going to mention the stages. You can look them up as needed, but you've got sensory motor, which essentially is developing all your senses and your motor skills. You have got the pre-operational stage. Okay, this is when you have animistic thinking. Your stuffed brain is alive and your best friend. You have irreversibility at this point in time. You have concrete operational, which is when you develop conservation. Remember, the glasses of different sizes hold the same amount of liquid. And you've got formal operations, which is logic. You're developing logic. Kohlberg talked about morality. Remember Heinz's dilemma, okay? That is all about Kohlberg. Personality, I'm skipping Freud because if Freud is on the AP test, I will be shocked. I will be stunned. If Freud is on the AP test, I will buy my daughter a car. Actually, a minor one anyway, so it doesn't matter. Personality theories. We've got our trait theories of personality. Ultimately, sorry. Trait theory of personality is the idea that, go figure, we have defining traits. You remember those. The big five is the big one with the acronym of OCEAN, okay? Openness. We have conscientiousness, which I believe was a part of one of your FRQs that some of you struggled with. Why would conscientiousness help somebody in a situation? Well, If you're conscientious, you're organized. If you're conscientious, you're hardworking. And I believe it had something to do with school. So that's how you would apply that, being organized, being hardworking. You have extroversion, which is outgoing. You have agreeableness, and then you have neuroticism, which is worry, guilt, insecurities, etc. Social cognitive is Bandura with reciprocal determinism, where the way you think, your cognitions, and the environment in which you live, and your behavior all interact to help form your personality. I am not going to go into any more there. We have the humanistic approach, Carl Rogers, the idea that, again, self-theory. You have potential. You think positively. People should have unconditional positive regard for you. I'm going to love you. I respect you no matter what, versus having conditional positive regard. I'm only going to be your friend if you buy me these shoes. And then we have testing. Keep in mind some of the concepts of testing. We have projective tests. We have objective tests. Okay, objective tests, Minnesota multiphasic personality inventory, true-false questions. Okay, they are objective. Anytime you have a sliding scale, 1 to 5, agree, disagree. Okay, these are personality tests. And then you have projective tests. You have the Rorschach test, which is the ink blots that we played with, if you recall. And we have the thematic apperception test, which were the weird pictures that we made up stories about who was in it or what was going on. Okay? And ladies and gentlemen, we do not have psychological disorders on this AP test, nor do we have social psych on this AP test. So I'm going to call it a day. I wish you all good luck.